Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
How are y'all doing today? I said I was ready. I really wasn't.
I'm a little tired.
Are you? It's been a long week. You know it's Saturday already?
I know.
Anyway, say hi to your friends. Tell me something while I try to get things reorganized here because boy, did I mess up in my plan over here. Woo. Tell me something fun.
Well, I was starting to tell you about how I was tired. Then you said, hey, wait, tell me something fun.
All right. I'm waiting.
Okay,
eagerly.
so I'm tired.
Okay.
The end.
That was awesome. Love it. Well done.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you guys have those days. That's why I got coffee.
Yeah. Is it working for you today?
It'll be good. It'll be good here real soon.
It'll get you going. It'll be all right.
I did have for breakfast today.
Yeah.
I had leftover hash brown casserole that I heated up.
That's the absolute best.
And then I made 2 eggs. And I put them on, and then they were,
That's how you start the day the right way?
Right. You know how I like my eggs. Like, I like over easy-ish.
What if somebody doesn't know what hash brown casserole is?
Oh, if you don't know.
Let me tell you.
It is the best thing ever. So I've heard people refer to it as other things. Funeral potatoes.
Oh, dear God, no. No.
I knew you would freak out about it. Anyway, hash brown casserole.
Okay.
You have a bag of hash browns.
Okay.
You got cream of chicken soup, because cream of chicken soup goes in everything.
Everything.
Apparently. Any casserole. Have you ever made a casserole that didn't have cream of chicken?
Mm-mm. I don't know.
I
don't eat casserole that often, actually.
We have some vegetarians in the family, and so we've tried to do things like, they make a cream of celery. Just so you know, all the Campbell's, anything that's cream of, pretty much has animal in it. So we found that out. Can't use that no more. Anyway.
Right, that's a real
But
thing.
this is when we are just at our house and it's just us. We can have whatever the heck we want.
Right.
So, but cream of chicken soup and cheese. You fry up an onion in some butter. You get hash browns.
Are you hungry yet?
It's so
good.
It's so good.
I actually am.
And the best is the leftovers that then you can put your egg on.
They are so reheatable. Like, that's the best part of it.
Because there's so many potatoes that are not reheatable.
Not at all.
Right?
Have you ever microwaved French fries?
Worst idea ever.
Oh. Anyway.
Okay, should I open it over here?
No, we're all good.
Okay.
I'm all squared away. It just took me a second. I think we enjoyed talking about the potato casserole.
Okay.
If you didn't, well, that's okay. We're going to talk about starchy stuff later anyway, so that's fine.
Right.
All right, so we got people saying good morning out there. Yeah. So if you're out there and you're watching and you haven't said hello yet, say hi.
So good morning, Chris, and hi, Cindy. Hi, Patty. Good morning, Alvina. Good morning to Jody. And good morning, Joanne.
Yeah.
Having coffee with us.
Yeah.
Morning, Beth.
Hello.
How's your ironing? Tell us about that. Is ironing the best thing ever now?
Yeah, really.
Good morning, Dorothy. Good morning, Sandy. And I think good morning, Pam.
We got Dolores and we got Eileen over on the YouTube. Also, don't forget, you can watch us on YouTube.
Yeah.
By the way, we're over there right now also. While you're there, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, just do that. Or if you're going to go over there later, do that.
Hey, will you figure out anyway?
Oh, Dolores is over here now. Good morning, Dolores. When I went now?
I'll tell you about it later.
Okay, great.
I won't remember.
Okay, I won't either. Anyway. It's okay, it happens.
This is a whole... Anyway, okay, so we're going to continue with what there's probably things we need to tell them first.
There's other announcement-y things to be aware of what's going on around the shop.
Yes, because, today I'm tired, and we're like, oh, it's Saturday, yay, that means nothing.
Nothing.
Because tomorrow starts the Monroe County Fair.
And
this is the first time that we have ever been involved with anything at the fair. We live in Waterloo.
We do.
We usually will go down and see the quilts.
Yeah, usually.
We might go on Thursday for, the kids to ride some rides. Once in a blue moon, we do, I think we've done the demo derby once since we've been together.
Since we've been together, yes.
Yeah.
I used to frequent it regularly. My brain wanted to put the LY in front of the wrong word. Right in the wrong word.
Except
I don't know.
that we have been together for like 20 years. So
a
you can't say,
long
I do it all the time. No, you don't.
I don't.
We've
Not
been
even close.
one time. And the reason is because after it's over, y'all got to get out of the same place. and it
Everybody
ain't
all
no
at the same
fun.
time. It's chaos.
Ain't no fun. It takes an hour to get home, and I live less than a mile away.
Yeah, we don't live that far away, and it takes way too long.
Yeah.
But it's a good
But
time.
it's fun.
It's fun.
Right.
Leave before the show is over. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, but then you don't get to see anyway.
Truckzilla, win it all. I know it's tough, but you know what?
So, but this week we will be at the fair the whole time. Also, I got to find out this great information. Like starting Tuesday, there will be a heat wave.
Oh, it's gonna be
Extreme
awful.
heat wave in this part of the country.
Woo!
97 degrees. Let's go hang out. Anyway.
Well, that's why we expect most of the crowds to be in the evening.
Right.
We'll be there as soon as we possibly can.
Right.
Whatever time that is.
Also, we'll be in a building that should be air conditioned. That's what they were
We'll
like.
also be doing lives throughout the week to let you know what's going on, see where we're at. The store will be open. You do not have to come to the fair. All of our stuff's like, we're just simply taking machines down there to show off to people because there's still a lot of people in this area that don't know we even exist.
Right.
How's this possible?
I'm going to tell you how it's possible.
Tell me how it's possible because I'm intrigued by this.
Because we have blinders.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going from here to here.
Oh.
And I do this every day. I go here to here, and I go back to there, and I go back, and I go back. And we don't see anything outside of our regular routine. This is normal human behavior.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Can you tell me what stores there are down Main Street of Waterloo?
Why are you going to put me on the spot like that?
You can't, is what I'm saying. And we live there, and we drive past them. It's just that you just do the things that you always do.
I'm guessing at this point.
I'm not going to talk to you anymore.
That's a true statement because actually, when I used to live, when I worked at this place there at the north end of town, I never went down Main Street, so I guess I get it. But at the same time, yeah. So we'll be at the fair.
And you're like, I need sewing stuff, so I'm going to go to somewhere that I already had been to 2 years ago. Whatever. Anyway, you guys get it.
They get it. It's fine.
Anyway, so we want to let the community know that we're here.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go do that.
We did have some more to jump on. Say hi. Hello, Linda. Hello, Karen. Hello, Jean. Hello, Mary. Beth loves her ironing. It's the Laura Star iron. It's the best thing ever. You need one. Get one. We got them. We'll sell you one. Morning, Cheryl. Morning, Aletha. And Patty says they love going lunch at the fair. There's always a heat wave during the fair and band camp. Yeah, it seems like these 2 weeks are going to just be miserable.
Yeah, so fair
year.
Next week, band camp the following week. Last week, if you're keeping up with my children,
maybe you will.
Last week, Victoria was at drum major camp. Woo! So yesterday we got to go to the Smith Walbridge clinics, which apparently is a big deal
for drum majors.
Yes. If you want to get, ahead, a lot of people won't even hire.
So, okay.
Tell me stuff. Yeah.
I'll tell you
Victoria's here.
Hi, Victoria.
So, pretty much Smith Walbridge, it was the first drum major camp available.
Right.
So it's the first of its kind. And so it's collegiate level. Like, there were a lot of college drum majors also.
Yes.
And it's people from all across the country come in. And it just so happens to be 2 hours away from us.
Yeah, we're lucky in that all you had to do was get there, which was 2 hours away.
Right.
And you drove it?
And I drove it.
Good job.
Woo. Too fancy now.
Yeah.
Driving all over the country.
You know how it is the first time you
drive for a long period of time.
Right.
You remember the first time you drove for a long period of time?
I do. I went to Kansas City.
What?
Mm-hmm.
No.
My friend and we were in my 1979 Camaro that was raspberry.
Oh, you took a Camaro?
I took a Camaro. Although, by the way, it wasn't 1979. It was like 1990. So it was an older car situation. And we broke down on the way back. Oh. And we didn't have cell phones. So we had to climb a fence, walk through some grass, get over to some lady's house. Hopefully they're not going to kill me. Ask if we could use the phone.
Wow, that's the era in which stories were made.
Yes.
Cell phones, didn't have them. My first
Victoria
long road
was
trip
able to
Texas.
text me and go, we're eating here. We are now leaving.
Right.
We are now home. Like the whole way I knew, and if I hadn't heard from her, I can look, where is she on the map?
Yeah, technology.
Anyway,
It's a wild world out there.
Yes. Okay, let's go back to.
All right, back to the quilting world.
Texas is where you went first?
First that I can think of long road trip that I did. It was myself and my cousin. We went to Texas, visit family.
That's a long way.
It's a long drive.
Yeah. Kansas City from here is just a few hours, just
Right.
like Victoria doing 2 hours. It was just a few hours. Anyway.
Yeah, that was like an 8-hour trip, and we drove at night.
Yikes.
No way. Not anymore. No,
Right.
Thank you. All right.
All right.
Anyway,
so
we have that going on.
Where are we at?
Let's see here. Jody says that she loves the quilt. That is a kit we currently have. We just showed that Wednesday night. I don't remember the name of it, but we have it. It's gorgeous.
Magic.
Winter Magic. It's a new
Hold
fabric
on.
line.
I'm going to do this.
Oh, the magic line is Mary Kitchen.
It's Mary Kitchmas.
And see, there's also a dark version, which you can't really see very well because I don't.
It's fine.
Anyway. So there is a light
Oh,
or
she's
a dark
doing it again.
version.
She's still moving. Okay. Anyway, we have kits for both light and dark out there in the store. So anyway, I can get you information if you need more on that. Hello, Nancy. Good to see you on. Also, remember that we have County Fair this week. We'll be there, but Warm and Cozy will still be open. Come see us here. August 1st is coming.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot happening on August 1st. The 1st is the start of the All Illinois Shop Hop.
Whoop, whoop.
That's happening. It's going to be here. I hope you guys are excited. I hope you're ready to get out and check out the other shops that are in the state of Illinois that are participating. Get your passports by buying the magazine. If you're having somebody drive you around, or if you're going to have a partner with you that does not quilt, get them a passport anyway.
Yep.
If they're taking the time and effort to go with you to do these things, let them get in the drawing. Maybe it'll spur them to start quilting. Or it's just another chance for you to win something. Either way, use it, do it, it's fine.
We had a customer in who was talking about that her grandson needs driving hours.
Perfect.
And she's like, so I'm going to go, well, we'll just go from one quilt shop to the next.
When you get to that age in life where you don't even look before you cross the street, let your grandkid drive you around to the shops. It's fine.
It's fine.
Just let's go.
Right. Don't look before you cross.
I don't even look anymore. I
don't
just
even
go.
look. Whatever.
Fine. I'll let my grandkid drive me around. It's fine. Hours in the car. Plenty of drive time.
Right.
Anyway.
Also, August 1st, for our locals, let me tell you about this. In Waterloo, every Tuesday during the summer, they have the municipal band plays at the bandstand at the courthouse.
Yep.
Every Tuesday evening.
Every Tuesday,
So
8 p.m.
We are sponsoring a...
Every night they give out free ice cream to the attendees. And usually they allow a business to sponsor that.
Right, because these aren't just free ice cream. It doesn't fall from the trees.
It's the Waterloo High School band parents put this, helped us organize this. So part of the proceeds help to pay, for the band kids.
Yeah.
And the other part goes to, obviously, O Sugar is the ice cream shop in Waterloo that supplies the ice cream.
Right.
But we'll be there handing out ice cream.
Yeah, so Warm and Cozy is sponsoring the
ice cream.
Free ice cream for the municipal band concert.
It'd be a good time. If you're there, come by, say hi, get some free ice cream, listen to the Muni Band play. It's a good time. I know some of you out there watching are in the Muni Band. We'll be watching you. I'm going to be listening to see if you mess up.
Was that a squeak?
No.
Was that
I
you?
won't know.
Was that a squeak?
I heard a squeak. Who squeaked?
Nobody squeaks.
None of them. They're professionals. They don't actually do that. I remembered for once to watch it. Hey, way to go, Mary.
Good morning, Mary.
Way to go. And Pam had her spouse with passport last year, double the fun. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've heard of people complain about, I can't believe you're actually a quilter. Why do you have a passport?
Why is he getting a passport? He doesn't quilt. You don't know what he does.
You don't know.
And
there's a lot of guys that actually quilt with their spouses.
And first,
by the way.
Yeah.
It's okay. And by the way, it's none of your business.
Right. And he had to go and do all these things. He might as well get,
right.
know.
Now, you can't walk in with 2 passports and say, hey, can you stamp one for my friend?
Can you stamp this for my husband's out in the car? Can you stamp this?
Got to come in the store.
He's got to come in.
Manhandle their own passport.
Ta-da.
Here we go. Stamp that. Okay.
I do think there's even kid passports.
I think there are kid passports as well. So, yeah, absolutely. Good time. Okay. So, as we promised, we were going to discuss controversies.
Mm-hmm.
Should I discuss this controversy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to ask you guys because your guys will be the biggest ones that this affects. Next week is the first, not the first, it's the last Saturday of the month, which means International Mystery Quilt.
Right.
Right? Now, if you've been following in the Quilters Collective, you've seen me post an image of the quilting that I did on this quilt, and I said that I was going to reveal it at next month's show and tell.
Right.
Now, some people have suggested that I put this in the county fair.
We're going to be there.
We're going to be there, right? May as well have something in the fair. Here's the deal. If I do that, I probably will not have it back in time to show it at the show and tell next week.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you watching, I ask you, can I show it to you today and then put it in the fair? Or should I just hold on to it and I'll show you guys next week? I'm not personally attached to this thing enough to be worried if you guys tell me you want to see it next week. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
I'll
So we'll
keep it
just
under lock
we'll
and
let it
key.
go. We'll let it go for now.
Give me
We'll
your
see.
answers. Throw them out here in the comments. Let me know what you opinionate, and we'll go from there. So as those come in, we'll come up with a consensus, and I'll just show you if I need to, or I'll hold on to it.
Okay.
Now we're going to talk controversies. We did this last week. Yesterday, I put out 3 different polls with questions that are historically controversial in the quilting world.
Right.
Okay. So, after the results have come in from the Quilters Collective, I'm saying that a lot of these aren't really as either one of two things. Either they're not really as controversial as some people imply they are, or our customers are all very like-minded with us.
Yeah, could be.
Which is possible. So yeah, that is going to be a fun one. So I've got the 3 ones that we voted on. I also may have a couple more. I do encourage you all to participate in the conversation today because this will make it far more entertaining for everybody because honestly, you all had some really good points yesterday.
For sure.
So we got some answers here.
Lots of people
2,
saying
3,
put it in the fair.
Put it in the fair. Fair for
Show
sure.
it today. Put it in the fair.
Show it. Okay. So the consensus is that I'm going to show you today what the quilt looks like. This is August mystery quilt. That means if you're working on July's pattern currently, bring that next Saturday to show it off, and you'll get August's pattern for free.
Right.
Okay. I've already finished it. I used a beautiful line that we just got in from Pam Buddha. It's called Cheddar and Coal. I believe, did we show this on a live sale yet? I don't think we did. I think I mentioned it. But anyway, so I showed you guys the picture of the quilting. There it is.
Can't see it at all. Okay.
Can't see it at all. Give it a second to focus. There we go. So I used a bright orange trilobal thread. Look how pretty that is. We planned it all out in Pro Stitcher. So it took about an hour and a half to actually quilt. Now here's the front of it. Are you ready? Here we go. Ta-da! How's that look?
Fun.
Can you see the top of it?
Come down just slightly on that side, on your side over there. Yeah. So it would be entered in the wall hanging division. Yeah. Because it's wall hanging size.
It is.
He did hand bind it, and he was having trouble.
Wow. Hand binding, not a strong suit.
So first of all, you want to, stay out a 1/4 inch from these points. When you have blocks on the edge that have points, you want to stay away from that, right? So you don't cover that up with the binding. So he did 2 1/4 binding, and then when he was hand binding it, he was having trouble. But I think it still turned out pretty darn good.
I think that turned out all right. Look at that picture. It almost makes me look professional. Almost. Anyway. All right. So then.
So I do want to say something because you put in there, it took an hour and a half of quilting time, plus the messing around with it was like 4 hours. So it really wasn't all that big of a deal. Except it took you hours.
I did to plan it out. Oh, no, absolutely. Right? The actual quilting, I believe, was the question, which is where I was...
I know, but...
don't underestimate the time it took to going into the Pro Stitcher, planning it out, laying designs.
If we can pull that back up.
Absolutely, we can.
Because I would like to show them
you want to see
a couple of things.
So, I do have to clean up the back a little bit, so just be mindful of that.
Yeah, so there are things like... Can we see that?
Oh, that block there? Yeah.
This block has... 2 blocks around, then a fill block inside of it. This is another design that goes on the 4 sides. I mean, everything
actually
in here.
In this center block here, I don't know why I'm trying to rotate it. It's right here. It's on all 4 sides. So a block,
Can
a
we
block,
see
a
that
block.
very well? Hey, Victoria, can you see that very well?
Kind of sort of probably better for my.
Cover your faces.
Hard
So
to talk about it if you're at work.
can you see that? Is that
Yeah, I
better?
can see it better now.
So this was a block. And so yeah, I mean each one of these comprises of at least 7 to 8 pieces that made it happen. So it has to stitch that, and then the fast thread we cut, and then I have to jump. So that way there's space in between, and there's relief and all that other stuff. So yeah, it is not a.
So when someone
Simple.
asked me, he's like, "Oh, it was like an hour and a half. It's like 5 hours." I was like, "It was longer."
Just for the actual quilting time. Planning is a real problem. It's a real thing. Just like if you're going to hand quilt it, or if you're going to do it on your domestic, you should always plan out.
Absolutely, because to me, once it's on the frame, I'm like, the counter is going, right? In my head, I'm like, okay, it's on the frame. We need to be quilting it. And I used to, in the beginning of my quilting career, I would put things on the frame and then look at it. Okay, what are we going to do? And half the day's gone because the phone rings. I get taken away for this or for that. And there's, so then I'm like, I have to have things planned out before they go on the frame. And I think everyone in the beginning kind of does that. And so it's much easier if you have a plan before it goes on.
Yeah, it's really smart to have a plan. I didn't expect to actually do that with that quilt. Actually, that all came together within about a week.
Yeah.
Oops. Anyway.
Yeah, well, it was also like July 15th, and I'm like, who's doing August quilt? And he's like, oh, I don't think we planned that.
Yeah.
So, hurry up and...
Right, get ready for that one.
Get ready.
Just so you know, that one is, in general terms, a fairly simple one. It's very reminiscent of January's, where it was just a single large block.
Right.
It only measures 35 by 35, where January's was like 48 by 48. So this one's just slightly smaller.
I would love to see that in baby colors, like for...
the color suggestions for that.
The 35 by 30, like that's a great wrap a brand new baby up in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of size quilt.
And it is double batted. It does have 80/20, and it does have the Dream puff batting. So like, yeah, it was a whole rigmarole. It will be hanging at, or will be at the show then, or I'll put it in the quilt fair, the county fair quilt competition. And then I'll bring it back, and it'll be in the shop following next Sunday.
Very nice.
So cool. Well, thanks guys. Thanks for allowing me to do that. I appreciate your cooperation on that matter. We will still have the in-person show and tell next week. We will be here for
that. And then we will be running out to go back down to the
correct.
So.
Probably not literally running, but we'll. Our goal will be.
I don't generally run.
I don't.
But it's also 5th Saturday.
Maybe a bear
so
would make me run.
It will be for any loyalty members who are in. You'll get 20% off of your purchases that day.
Yeah, it is going to be a 5th Saturday. Awesome. Good fun. Okay, so back to the controversies. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
All right, so. The first one that I put out a poll for was regarding changing our needles. Now, this one I saw in that, if you recall, last week I told you that I found a forum from 2011 that was about all the controversial things. So I took the summary of each one of those and I put them on a list. I wanted to find out how we stand today versus 2012 or 11.
Right.
Last week's all seem to fall into the category of we haven't changed a whole lot. Kind of still the same where we're just, personal preference. So, needle changing. This one got me because I was reading through a post in a long arm group and there is somebody in the long arm groups out there that strongly believes that if you use a ballpoint needle, you don't actually have to change your needle for months at a time. This just makes me sad. I don't get paid for saving needles, but go ahead. What's your thoughts here?
I have to just say, when it comes to controversial things, I always like to play both sides. I go, okay, let's take this side, because this is generally my stance. And then I go, okay, so what if we believed that way? And then I go, okay, what literature out there has been... Like, are we just following along with what someone told us?
This is the way we've always done it.
Because we talked about this last week about poly thread versus cotton thread, and
Right.
everything has to be cotton, and then I was talking to some ladies, and they're like, "Well, you said I could use poly thread," and I was like, "Uh-oh, now I could be in trouble because like they're gonna switch and it's gonna be my fault and whatever." Anyway,
Right.
I've been piecing with poly thread. Sometimes we quilt with poly thread all the time. I don't have any problems telling people that, but I do then go, okay, so let's talk about what if we just didn't change our needle? Okay, so that would save us a little money.
A
right?
little, not
Okay.
enough.
It
but-
would save the environment from the waste of
And then-
all of the needles
Sure.
that I'm
Supply
throwing
demand
away.
would drop off a little bit, so you wouldn't be using as much resources for them.
Right. So
Sure.
is there so what benefits would there be to not changing the needle?
Sure.
And then I'm like, okay, but what is the downside to
Mhm.
not changing the needle? Why do we actually change it, right? And the whole ballpoint, you don't need to change because it was already dull on the end. It's still going, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I know.
Whether it's sharp or whether it's ballpoint, it still should be changed.
Right.
I've seen when technicians will post a picture that they've taken under a microscope kind of thing, where you can kind of see that needle is like, because it's bending as it's doing. Sometimes
Right.
it can get messed up, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to needle changes, some may have the conversation of, well, the difference between the domestic and the long arm. I guess you could look at it either side.
Sure.
Changing it every large project seems to be the ideal thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have, like I said, the long armor that brought this topic up. Her name's Kelly Klein. Apparently, she has a following, has a blog, is just available on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're available on the internet, you can say whatever you want, and people will believe you and go with it, and that's totally fine. But she's a genuine believer that if you use a ballpoint pen, you can go every 6 months without a needle ballpoint and without changing it. There are people that then chimed in and agreed that they don't change their needles that often. As a technician myself, I can tell you right now that if you are using your machine every couple months, you can get away with that for sure. But if you're using it with any regularity, like we're using the machines all the time, every day, day in, day out, there is no way I'm going to use a needle for longer than a couple of quilts. Because you are putting tension and pressure and you're deflecting that needle, and metal will deflect.
Mm-hmm.
So, do I disagree
What
with
does
changing the
deflect
needle?
mean?
That means it's bending as it's stitching because the thread's pulling and the fabric's tugging on it. And all these things are happening at a very high rate of speed.
And Jody asked a question, what's a ballpoint needle? So we could do like 2 hours on needles.
2 hours, holy cow.
Okay, but because there are needle sizes, there are needle specific. Like Pam just said that she uses a quilting specific needle for when she's quilting.
Absolutely. They're a little more robust, and you're dealing with a large sandwich, so quilting needles for sure while you're domestic.
And so there's a quilting specific needle that could also be a 12, a 14, like a different size. Anyway, but a ballpoint needle is just what it sounds like. It's not sharp at the point. It's rounded. It will still poke you. Like it's not like you can go, okay, is
it's
this
not
like
a blunted piece of metal.
It's not as sharp. And what that generally does is a lot of times if you're working with knits, so since a lot of us quilters are not really sewers also, we don't make clothes, so we don't generally need a ballpoint needle necessarily, or we're not talking about that all the time every day. That could be why we don't all know about it. But usually when you're working with knits, you want to use a ballpoint because it's going to find its way through rather than piercing.
Right. It's not
going to break
it's sliding
the threads. It's going to
which is a little more, and that's the theory that they base off that conversation, is that it weaves itself through the knit as opposed to piercing it, so therefore it doesn't dull the blade or the tip near as bad, as quick. Let's look at what the results were from the group.
Yeah.
Again, that's talking long arm for the needles, but also changing the needle on your machine. I have talked with people who haven't changed their needle on their machine for long periods of time because a manufacturer told them at a large quilt show convention that you don't have to. Like, what? anyway, and they didn't, and that's fine, and that works for some people. Percentage-wise, we had 72% of people out of, let's see here, 47 votes for this one. We had 72% said they changed the needle with every large quilt.
Nice.
I kind of expected that. Thank you guys for doing that. Again, I make no money from telling you to change your needle, but by the way, I guess a little bit. We had a couple, 8% said that they changed the needle once every 6 months. But that could be because you're not using it all the time, every day.
Sure.
There's no need to change it all the time, so it's fine.
Mhm.
And then, strangely, more than 20%, 20, said, voted for we were supposed to change our needles?
Question mark?
Question mark? Well, yes you are.
Yes, you're supposed to change your needle.
The people that voted for that, I would definitely say no, they should, but they were going for the funny.
Sure.
I agree with you. It's funny. That's why I voted for that one.
So, I will tell you that there are times that I'm like, I don't know when I change this. I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
And I think that as you do this more and more often, you notice, man, it's better when I change my rotary blade, right? Like, why did I wait so long to change that blade? I've been fighting with this stupid thing. I've been pressing through. I'm about to cut my finger off because I got a dull blade, you know. And you finally change the blade, and you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do that?
Right.
Now, the needle is so tiny, and it is going through with so much force and pressure that it's not as noticeable that it's gonna, like, that it's having to work harder, right? Like, because you're not having to push the needle through, so like you would with the rotary blade.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily notice the dullness of the needle.
But you can. If you start to notice the tone of your machine,
punch,
you'll hear the popping noise as it's
Mhm.
popping through the backside of your fabric.
Yep.
Or even
As
the top
you do
of
this
it.
a lot, you're gonna go,
You recognize those
that doesn't sound right.
Comments from that poll, we have Cindy who basically said what you already did and what Pam said. Depends on the project, what you're doing, the right needle for the right project.
Mhm.
If you pull out a needle, replace it with a different one, I personally probably wouldn't save it. Like, unless I know I just used it for like 20 seconds and realized I don't want this one, I would probably
I have
save
this
that,
one
but-
project where I've got tiny pieces and I'm using tinier thread and I'm using a smaller needle. And I'm not going to use that needle for anything else.
Mhm.
I keep that needle with that project.
Sure. That makes sense, and there's nothing wrong with that. Diana said that her answer may have been influenced by the owners of her favorite quilt shop.
Could be.
It's not a bad influence.
Right.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Every large quilt. Kim changes her needle after 8 hours of stitching because needles are cheap compared to the machine, the repairs, and the frustrations that come with wonky stitches.
That is the best answer.
It's a really good answer right there.
For sure.
So
that's why we change our needles every big project.
Again, do we think you're a monster if you don't change your needle all the time? No, absolutely not.
No.
It is your machine. It's your project. It's your quilt. You do what you will. It's totally fine.
So I sometimes, because when I change my needle, I then clean everything also.
Yeah.
And sometimes then I'm lazy and I'm like, I don't want to clean right now. Oh my gosh, the whole thing.
I want this thing just clean itself.
Anyway. And then I get over myself and I just do it.
Right. Because that's the right thing to do.
Right.
Let's see here. Pam, if you have to go ask yourself, I think it's time. Yeah, if you have to ask yourself when the last time was you changed the needle, it's probably just
time to do it.
Change it.
Yeah.
Probably better.
Mhm.
The skip stitches, change needles.
Right.
It's going to help you with all that stuff for sure.
Yep.
All right, so needles, change them or don't. General consensus, change them. Again,
not too much controversy.
Not as controversial as I
in
thought,
our
but-
group, necessarily. But there are people out there that are not changing their needles and they're saying that's fine.
According to the Quilters Collective, July 2023.
Right.
Not
Change
that
your
big a
needle.
deal. Just change them. Anyway, okay, easy enough. Any more to add to the needle conversation?
Just in the whole process, the needle is not that expensive.
It is
Change
not.
it.
Right. I mean, you got to figure you've just spent $150 on fabric.
Right. How much time you've put into it, all
those hours.
Yeah, you don't want to.
20 cents for a needle at the most. I don't even know how much it actually costs. Just change the needle.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Some are a little more expensive than that.
Maybe.
Anyway.
It's because they're
Moving on.
fancy like that.
Yeah.
All right. So, controversial topic number 2. You remember what it was?
Starch.
Starch or no starch? That is a question. That was exactly what I put in there. So
I am so surprised.
I'm not.
So
I'm not surprised at all.
surprised.
Actually, this one actually shows itself to be a very controversial topic.
It is.
And again, not
And that's
that
great.
it's like we're going to start World War X over it.
No.
But
We
you
can
have
all
beliefs
still be
on both
friends
sides.
here.
I would say we're definitely,
This
it's
is
polarizing.
it's so much better though than politics in that we can still be friends even if you don't starch.
Yeah, I mean, really.
Yeah.
I love it. So here's what we got. My 4 options were starch, no starch, starch till it's rigid. That's the Danielle method. Or potatoes. I told you we're going to come back to that starch conversation. All right, so 32% of you say that you starch. Also, starch would be inclusive of like sizing, things of the sort, not just a simple water press sort of thing.
Right.
46% said they do not starch. Very interesting. And this is out of 67 votes. So that's a pretty solid amount.
I would love to hear from the non-starchers.
We're going to. We have comments in here from people that don't, and it's totally fine. Starch till it's rigid, the Danielle method. We had 18% that went along with that idea, and 4% went with just potatoes. I have a feeling that that's me. Let me have a look here and see.
Oh my
That may have just been
golly.
myself. There we go. Oh, we had 2, Carolyn Darvish. Sorry, I called you out for that one, Carolyn. Usually I was going to leave it anonymous, but I just had to know who else agreed with that one, and yeah, high five.
Yeah.
Because really, sometimes that's just the best answer.
Yeah.
Let's see what the comments were here. So Beth was a firm believer in starch until she got the Laura Star iron. So now she doesn't really use the spray bottle. She just goes with the iron.
Yep.
It's a true thing. It really works. It's kind of fantastic. Deborah doesn't have time for starch and waiting.
Right.
Time to get cutting. Fabric's out. Time to cut. This is a real thing, though.
Yep.
Patience is not my virtue.
I don't have patience either.
This wall hanging I just showed you, August IMQ, I didn't starch it.
I know.
It made her a little sad, I'm sure, on the inside.
Nah, whatever.
It probably could have been a little cleaner if it had been starched, had we worked with starched fabric. But
So when should I talk? Now or later?
Whenever you want to. Go ahead.
You want to go through some more, or you want?
Let's see who else we have in here. Future Kelly wishes current Kelly would get her act together and plan to use starch. What I get from that is Kelly's in the same boat as Deborah.
So Kelly quilts my quilts. She also quilts other people's quilts.
Right.
And she likes to quilt my quilts because they lay flat.
Marcia, never piece without starching. I actually use Turil Magic.
Oh, see,
The fabric can almost stand by. So that's the second time this week I've heard that name of a brand. I've never heard of it before. I guess we're going to have to get some to find out what this is all about.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay.
It's just...
For you starch knowers and knowing what this is.
So also I tend
out.
I tend to also be a consumer, right? And I
Yes.
tend to be very frugal on certain things. Since I use an entire can of starch for about 3 yards of fabric,
Not
I
even
want
a
to
joke.
get as little. I want to spend as little as possible if I can, right?
Yeah.
And the stuff she's talking about is like $20, but it's a big jug.
Yeah.
So
Now,
okay, so here's my
okay. Get it. Do it. Come
Okay.
on.
So I starch because I'm a perfectionist and I'm still getting better at this hobby,
Okay.
right?
Sure.
So I'm a perfectionist and I'm going to go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I lost that point or whatever. So I starch my fabric before I cut anything. So even though I now have a Laura Star iron, so I've been able to cut the starch once. Okay, just talk without me. So it used to be that I would starch, I would cut, then I'm putting things together, and now you've got starched fabric, and it's standing up, right? And
Right.
it won't lay
Doesn't
over.
You can't press
And
that
so
seam.
you've got to use a little bit of
a little more starch.
a little bit more starch, a
down.
best press, or a finishing spray of
Flatter.
some kind, flatter, something like that to get it to lay down. I don't need any of that anymore because I have my iron.
Right.
But I'm still starching before I cut because I'm not as great of a piecer as I would like to be. And I want things to be perfect.
Okay.
So I'm striving for perfection.
Mm-hmm.
I rarely achieve it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So on the con side for starch, I'm gonna stand in here for those of you that aren't starchers. Aside from timing, some people truly believe that it can attract bugs. Now let's talk to that because it is a material that comes and is derived from potatoes. Generally, it is a starch, so therefore can be viewed as a food product for insects or other small living creatures. Let's not get too thoughtful about that.
Gross. Are you telling me that it could attract mice?
I'm telling you that they may find it delicious.
I will stop using starch.
We have to have no mice in the world for this to be a concern. So we don't have mice in our house.
I really,
we actually
really hate mice. I really hate them.
I have a firebomb rigged up in the house so that if a mouse actually enters the house, there's a fireball that comes out from underneath.
Yeah.
Gets rid of all mice. Sorry to the mice, but not sorry to the mice.
This is what he has to tell me because otherwise, like if we see a mouse, I no longer live there anymore.
Right. She's got a gas can walking to the front door. No. So
I don't care about much, but I really, really, really hate mice.
There is the real conversation of like the moths or the earwigs, I believe is what they call them.
Sure.
Small little insects that can, if you have a potential issue with them at your house already, could be attracted to it. That said, what I tell people and what I've read also as a strong recommendation is wash it. But if you starch, don't get home with your brand new purchased wares and go straight and dunk them in the starch and then go store them on your shelf for the next 2 years. This is a terrible concept.
I'm starching it as I'm using
Getting ready to use it. Once it's quilted and it's done, either keep it in a container that's plastic that's safe from such things, or once it's done quilted, wash it.
And then
then you're done.
Then we're over it, right?
This would be the most responsible thing to do for that conversation. Let's see. We had some comments come through. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. I saw Nancy said that she used starch for 100 blocks, and then she enjoyed it, nice. Which is good.
Good.
Cindy,
no starch. Pam said no starch. Something.
She used some water just to get things to lay flat.
Got it.
Kind of an improvised steam there without getting too steamy. Cindy, I'm just messing with scraps, not so much, but if I'm going to make a quilt, always starch, especially if there's a lot of 1/2 and 1/4 inch squares. Nice. Absolutely. Yeah. Wash the quilt when you're done. Ta-da! See? Even Pam knows.
Right.
Everybody knows this one. Regina hates those rodents too, but she's not getting rid of the starch. Yeah, we're not getting rid of it, let's be honest here.
Okay, good.
Jody, this month's mystery, I've lost some points. I'm struggling with this pattern. Maybe I should have starched the fabric. The thing is, when you starch, you got to plan. That's that whole planning thing.
Yep.
You got to know you're going to do it. You can't starch your pre-cuts typically unless you're going to cut them down pretty significantly anyway. So yeah, I mean, if you're having problems getting those points being exact, a little bit of starch will give you a nice clean, non-shifting fabric.
And it's also nice, like if you're like, I'm not really sure about this. I also people will ask me, I used starch, it didn't help anything. And I say, okay, how much starch did you use? Because if you haven't seen a demo from me on how much starch I use, I mean, I get it completely soaked.
It's saturated.
And then it hangs to dry.
It does.
And then I can press it, and then I can start cutting. So it is not light starch, move on. No, I get the heaviest starch. I spray it till it's all the way. And also, like, there are things you can do, like dunking, because some people have talked about they don't like the aerosol and how, the smell of it or the different factors there that come with aerosol cans. It's more waste. It's, that kind of stuff. I like the starch, the spray starch.
If you haven't noticed, Danielle's a huge proponent of starch. Loves it.
Yeah.
Loves it. Frankly, if you work for Faultless and you need a spokesperson,
right.
I got a person for you.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. I have converted a lot of people to using starch.
The records Faultless starch sales in this area.
If you look at the number of sales that have gone through. And yes, now back to I think somebody said starch plus Laura Star iron.
Yes, that was in the comments underneath the poll. That was from Sandy.
Oh yeah.
She does have the Laura Star iron. And so so you starch that and you let it dry and you come back and you hit that with that Laura Star press. Oh my good Lord. It is just
it's so beautiful.
It's like a lake.
I was
on a
gonna
calm
give
day.
I was gonna give
Gorgeous.
Jody a tip of just starch a piece of fabric, make a sample block, see how you like it.
Yeah.
You know, before you're in it for a whole quilt, and oh my gosh, this takes forever and things like that.
Right.
So, I've
Right.
also had people ask me, and I will not. We can move on, but when you have yardage, how do you starch that giant piece of yardage?
That's a good question.
I look at my pattern and go, I like to work in about a half a yard because that fits on my drying rack really well. And so I'll look at my pattern and I'll look at like what size I'm cutting things. So I've got something that needs 7-inch cuts, right? Well, if I do an 18-inch piece, I would then I'm going to get 2 cuts is going to give me 14, and then I've got this 4-inch piece that I can't use. No good, right? So I just look at, okay, I need to get to 21, maybe let's do 23 inches, or go down to 15 inches so that I'm only going to get those 2 cuts. Like, figure out what you can get out of that piece. Yeah, don't just go, I'm going to cut these all in half yards, because then you're going to end up with a 4-inch piece and another 4-inch piece and another 4-inch piece, and then find out that you don't have enough fabric.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Don't do that to yourself.
Don't do that to yourself, but that works a lot better than trying to starch a 2-yard piece. But sometimes background fabric, you may need 3, 4, 5 yards, right? And you need to cut 144, whatever size pieces. You need to make sure that you're going to be able to get that and not run yourself out of fabric.
Tiny bites is the best way to go. Joanne asked if Best Press is a starch. I use it to sew. Best Press is a starch alternative. It's more of a sizing. But again, it's going to add a little bit of
body
to your fabric and kind of keep it from being too floppy, flimsy.
So, and a lot of people, if you pre-wash, then most pre-washers have to add starch back in, because when you pre-wash, it makes everything really soft. And then if you go and you try to sew that together, like you can press it and you've gotten those wrinkles out, but you go to sew and things can shift on you because it's so giving, right? So in those cases, starch is a good thing. And using Best Press, which is a starch alternative, is still a great option. I don't use Best Press to saturate the whole thing. I use a heavier starch because Best Press is not really going to make it stiff.
Yeah. And also I've seen people in the conversation of starch, like several in the last week or two that have come in that we talk about starch. They came from a military situation. Husband was military, so they're like, I hate starch.
Never using it.
Hate being around it.
So also, yeah,
I mean, again.
So for my,
that's fine.
Yeah, for my non-starching friends, I totally understand. Like, I envy people who can quilt.
Yeah.
Who, like, I tell Kelly all the time, I'm like, I wish I pieced as well as you. She's fast, she's good, and she doesn't starch. So she doesn't have to take the time that it takes me to prep. And now she commented, I need to, I wish that I would just get my act together and start starching. I'm sure that she would have the benefit of things being even more precise. But she does a really good job without starching. So
she does. All right, starch. Conclusion is currently more people with our group. July 2023 Quilters Collective, most starch. Does this mean that it's different?
So we had 46% that said no starch, but if you add the 32 and the 18, the starch and the starch till it's rigid, we beat you.
By 4%, which that 4%, we voted for potatoes. Okay, so moving on from starch. Last but not least, before we run out of time today, we got plenty of time to talk about this one. There was enough controversy about this topic conversation that they had a post about it. There was a news article, a couple different news articles I ran across, but I didn't feel like paying to subscribe to them to actually read the whole thing, so I only got part information. And this happened back in 2020, 2021. It was more of a thing where people were taking thrifted quilts and cutting them up into clothing, purses, bags, things of the sort. Repurposing quilts that were given to a Goodwill of sorts.
Right.
Now, there were some people super up in arms.
Terrible.
And
How
I
could you
read
do that?
comments that were definitely not happy. One of them was a gal from, what was her name? Mary Fonz, from, I believe, was the daughter of the group of people, Fonz and Porter. I believe it's either her or the daughter of that team of people. So anyway, big name in the quilting world, not happy with the idea of cutting up quilts. So this, as a newer conversation, this was definitely not on the board from 2011. So this is new to us controversy. So I asked you guys what your opinions were in the collective. And
we got 115 votes.
115 votes on this one.
Nice.
Pretty awesome turnout response on this one. Plenty of comments as well. The tip that shook out this way, we had 67% of people that said it was no big deal. Whatever, chop them up. We had 7% of everybody said, save the quilts. Don't do that, save them. And that's completely reasonable. 26% said, as long as you don't ask me to make a jacket. Now, I put that in there more of a, it doesn't matter to me, just don't ask me to do something with it for you.
Right.
Like, you want to chop it up, knock yourself out.
Right.
But I make quilts, I don't chop them up and make jackets.
Right.
So that's actually, I would put that more in the, it's a no big deal camp, in case you were, wondering where that vote actually lands.
Right.
So, let's look at some comments here on what people's opinions were. Now, Amelia had a pretty good synopsis of it. A lot of people liked her comment. If the quilt's in good condition, you're an absolute monster. I think I would be in that conversational camp for sure. If it's a good quilt still, please don't chop it up. But if it's got holes and it's falling apart and there's not much that you can do with it anymore, upcycling it, bits and parts of it to make a quilt, a jacket, or something else out of it is really a really good way to go.
Because then it's going to keep it around for another option. Yeah.
Right. You can reuse it for a jacket, and that you're still able to keep using it. Yes, Victoria.
The thing is that nobody is donating their family heirlooms, and if they are, they're the monster.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
yes.
This is the hazard in quilting. You're not wrong that people aren't donating them, but sometimes people are. Sometimes people don't realize that grandma passed on, mom's not here to tell us what to do with these things. There's this pile of quilts over here. I don't know what to do with them. There's no sentimental value to them.
Right.
So they just donate them.
Donate double wedding rings.
Double weddings that, oh my good Lord, you know how much time and it's pieced together.
What is the hexagon?
Oh, the grandmother's garden?
Grandmother's flower garden quilts. And it's in a thrift shop for $20. And you're like, oh no. Yes, I will take you home with me.
Absolutely.
And I would do what I could to keep that around.
Right.
Even though it's not my grandma who made it, I would still think, it's worth,
quilt.
Trying to
It's worth the education by all means. Like, if you have this situation, you see this scenario coming down the road, do your best to educate your family so this doesn't become one of those situations.
Okay, so why did Jane say no comment?
I don't know. I'm guessing Jane's been in this conversation before. It's okay. We don't need to comment.
Okay.
So Angelina said that she only quilts for charity, and after you get the quilt, it's out of her hands. Do what you will with it.
Yep.
Which is a fine philosophy to live by. I've got all this fabric. I got to do something with it.
So I think that sometimes you have to get to that point. So there have been quilts. I've had friends that are like, I gave them a quilt and then I came over and the dog was laying on it. And they like freak out a little bit, right? And they're like, I'm never giving them a quilt again. I'm like, see, but it's no longer yours. You gave it to them.
Right, but I would still, myself, I would have a bit of feel about it. If I saw what was being done with it. Like, if I didn't know, ignorance is bliss to me at that point.
So to me, there are things like I make quilts because I want them to be used. So I would be happy that the kid's dragging it through the mud. Don't care.
Enjoy it, kid. Love it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I want you to use it. I want it to fall apart, and I want to make you another one because I want to still make quilts, right? So, like, drag it through the mud. Putting it in the dog kennel, not really the best option.
Probably not. But if it's, let's say the kid used it, loved it, enjoyed it his entire life, it's threadbare, it's falling apart. You made it out of some, lesser quality stuff because you were just getting into quilting. You had no idea. And it's worn thin. It's been washed 85 times. The dog's got it now.
Okay, fine.
So be it. Or maybe the dog got to it because the dog smelled starch. And then there are things
like
Dang dogs.
I made this quilt for you.
Yeah.
To take and drag through the mud.
Yeah.
And I made this quilt for you to hang on the wall. Because it's, you know, a lot more pieces in there. And this, I would like this to be kind of, you know, so you can give kind of.
You can give me a suggestion.
Instructions.
That doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I kind of am agreeing with the sentiment of, hey, I'm like, whatever it does to make it be usable. Like this here wall hanging, I made this bad boy. I'm not invested in it to the point that I care. If I were to gift that to somebody and ended up chopped up into a bag, whatever. As long as it's getting used, that's awesome. If it's not taking up space in the landfill, thank you so much for doing something with it.
Right. Yeah, and I have no problem. If you want to make a quilted jacket, go to the thrift shop. Find an old quilt, you know, go on Marketplace, find somebody who's selling a quilt. Because you're not going to, especially the first time that you make a jacket or a whatever.
Let's have disaster.
It could be you do not want to spend hours and hours and hours making a quilt that then you cut up and then it didn't turn out as well as you would like.
Right. Yeah. So also, if you decide to start getting into that, again, there's always going to be people learning to make quilts. People are going to be selling quilt tops. People are going to be finding quilt tops that was hiding in grandma's cedar chest. Things that need to be done something with. And I think I don't have as much of a qualm with it as long as it's being used by somebody in some fashion. I hope it works out well. In the past 6 years, 3 of the baby quilts I've given as gifts. All the pictures online with the babies have been of the backing. No! I understand the piece side is the quilt. That said, it's given and used, so it's a win. Yeah. So this would be my thought on that. Maybe they love the piece size, and maybe they want the piece side to stay as nice as possible.
I don't know.
And
Karen said, I have made quilts nobody wants to use, and that's not why I make them.
Use them and love them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that's another thing. You give it to somebody and they're like, thank you, and then they put it away. Oh, I got to cherish that.
It's not fragile.
I'm glad that they want me to have made something that they cherish. You know, like that is a great feeling, but at the same time, like,
yeah,
you want it used, use it.
Yeah, I think that's a good conversation, and I think it go.
Yeah.
You know, it's more of a, as far as upcycling quilts, upcycling those found that have been donated that are now orphaned, if you will, or upcycle versus the ones that you've made. I think like maybe those are two different conversations. Because
I've made a ton of quilts, shop samples. Okay, shop samples, and now I do not need any more quilts. What am I going to do with this particular one?
Right.
Shoot, let's do something fun.
Yeah. I don't know. I think
somebody might be mad at me about it, but
you know what? Again, going off of
if it's
votes,
my own, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
According to the Quilters Collective, July 2023, upcycle, reuse them, do what you can, make use of them. Don't let them sit there and collect dust.
And don't ask me to make you a jacket.
And I will not make you a jacket. Because 26% of you prefer to not be asked to make a jacket as opposed to the 7% that just want to save the quilts. So, anyway, also, if you do go thrift shopping and you do see a double wedding ring sitting there that's gorgeous, immaculate, and well-pieced, save it.
Yeah. Please. Also look at it because there are a lot of double wedding ring cheaters.
Oh, there are.
So don't go, oh my God.
It's work. It's not.
And
you
look and you're like, that is an even piece. That's printed that way. Don't have to save that one.
All right. Well, I had a whole list of other controversial topics that we still didn't even get to. So we will, I guess, maybe we'll have to do another video and have more controversial stuff because there are some that I think, to me, we're a quilt shop. So that some of those topics are going to be very hard for me not to be biased towards.
Right.
But I still think they're good conversationals. So maybe we'll do that. Not next week, because next week is the in-person show and tell. Again, if you want to be here for it, get here at 9:15. We'll open the doors. We lock the doors at 9:28. We go live at 9:30. So be here for that. Otherwise, come see us at the fair this week. Starts Sunday, Monroe County Fairgrounds in Waterloo, Illinois. Come say hi. We look forward to seeing everybody. Otherwise, with that, come see us today. We'll be here also. Victoria, you ready to get us out of here? All right, we're going to go to work. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.